Hi, I'm Kat and I play Red. Today we're looking at City of the Big Shoulders from Parallel Games, designed by Raymond Chandler III with art and design by Emily Deering. Set in Chicago in the late 1800s, players take on the roles of entrepreneurs and investors seeking to rebuild Chicago and make some extra cash while doing so. City of the Big Shoulders is a heavy economic game with a worker placement phase and a twist of 18xx. All of the companies featured in the game are historically accurate, and each of the company boards gives you a little insight on the back about the details of the companies. This attention to detail makes this game something a little different to what can be a very dry genre. This is the second in my 10-minute teach series and I hope you enjoy it. If you do, don't forget to click like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. City of the Big Shoulders is played over 5 rounds, each represented by a decade. So at the start of each turn, you're going to move this along so that you know where you are in the game. Each turn has 5 phases, which again are represented by this track. So you'll move it along so you know exactly where you are in the game. The first phase of each round is the stock phase. Here players will buy and sell stock in different companies. So in the first round you're going to be starting a company. Let's say I choose the Anglo-American Provision Company. This generates livestock. So how do I start a company? Each company has a variety of different shares. It has 5 common stock shares, each worth 10% of the company. It has a preferred stock share, worth 20%, and a director's stock share, worth 30%. When you're starting a company, this is what you're going to buy. So I'm going to take my director's stock and decide what price I want to put on the shares. Say I want each share to be worth $40. So 4 times 3 would be 120. I'll take $120 from my treasury, place that into the company, and then set the share level at $40. This track represents the value of the shares of all the different companies in the game. Obviously, these tokens will move up and down as the game progresses. So let's have a look at the company boards. So the company will have the shares still available here and the money in its treasury at the bottom. So this is how you're going to generate money. Your company will produce goods which you then sell to market for a specific amount. How do you produce goods, you ask? Well, that's one of the last phases of each round, but let's have a look at what you need. To produce 2 goods, you're going to need a black and a pink resource. That actually represents coal and livestock. You're also going to need to place a worker on the space here. Alternatively, these black markers here represent robots waiting in the wings, waiting to take over from your workers. At various points in the game, you'll have a chance to move them up to take over from the workers, which will help you generate more goods. So, at the moment, goods from the Anglo-American Provision Company are worth $30. However, in the course of the games, I'll be able to buy salesmen, place them here to increase the value of my goods. I'll also be able to buy managers, which mean when I run this company, I'll produce extra resources and go up on the appeal track. The appeal track is here and shows how desirable each company is. When it comes to running the company, this will be done on the order here, starting with the most appealing companies and going back up. So that can be quite important later on in the game. Obviously, we've been looking at setting up your own companies. However, in subsequent rounds and later in the first turn, you can decide to spend money in other people's companies. So, for example, I have $55 left over. I could choose to buy a share in one of these other companies. So let's say I wanted to buy one share in CM Henderson's and Company. I would give the company the $35 and I would take a 10% common share, which is now mine as well. So whenever my Anglo-American company runs and makes money, I'm going to get a dividend. And whenever CM Henderson's and Co makes money, I'll get a dividend, albeit a bit smaller. Players continue buying shares until they don't want to. Once everyone has passed, the priority deal marker is given to the player to the left of the last person to buy shares. They'll then get the chance to buy shares before anyone else in the next round. So pop that in front of them so you remember for the next round. Then after the stock phase, we move into the building phase. At the start of the game, each player will have 3 building tiles. Each round, they'll choose one of these to put in play on the appropriate spot on the board. So, say I want to place that. I then choose one of these tiles to keep, to use, or maybe not use in later rounds, and another one to discard out of the game. So, once all players have decided what building they want to play for the round, they're all flipped over and these become placement slots for the next phase of the game, the action phase. So, moving into the action phase, turn order is represented here by the partners. At the beginning of the game, you'll only have 2 partners you can place, though there are various opportunities to get more, including here on turn 3. Or, if one of your companies gets your appeal high enough, you'll get another one as well. As you can see on the tiles, the worker symbol is in the bottom corner here. This represents the number of workers that are going to go to market and be available this round. So here, sadly, it's only 1. So we'll place 1 worker there. These green spots on the board can be used by as many different players as you want. However, these beige ones are like any other worker placement game. In fact, if 1 player is there, no other players can go on that spot. So, remember we spoke about the workers you needed earlier to run your factories? So, if I place my partner here, I can buy workers. This worker is going to cost me $30. These ones $40, and if there are none available in the pool, they go up to $50. I can buy as many of these as I want, and other players can also go there during this phase and buy workers if they want to too. Here, your company is going to go up by 1 on the appeal track. You're going to pay $20 and you're going to get to go up in the turn on the turn order track, which is here. So if I were to place my partner here, I'd move up and I'd have the chance to go first in the next round. Here you're going to pay $60 and you're going to get a manager. Here, $70 for a salesman. These various spaces give you different cubes. These must always come from Haymarket Square up here and must always be available. I don't know why you'd pay $70 actually for a salesman here, because you can actually go here and get one for $20. This space here represents the capital assets. These are the capital assets that will be available each round. So you'll pay the money shown on the top and place the tile on your company board here. The symbols match if you look. I immediately get an automation, if you see this little symbol in the bottom left, and I get to take 2 brown cubes from Haymarket Square. All of these spaces on the board have little symbols in the top right of the square. This indicates where the money comes from and where the money goes to. So, in the case here of buying a salesman, the company would pay the bank $70. Here, the bank would pay the person who owns this spot $20. There's actually a nice little cheat sheet for these on the player board. Make sure your money always goes in and out of the right places. The next phase is the operations phase. As I mentioned earlier, this is done on a peel rating. So my little Anglo-American provision company would be 4th to run. That's fine though. Early game, this doesn't matter so much. So let's have a look at how we run a company. So my company is automated, so I don't need a worker here. However, I do need a black and a pink resource to run the company. So let's have a look. Can I buy these from the market? Now, I can buy a pink here for $20 and I have the $20 to do so. So let's start with that. Okay, buy a pink cube. However, the blacks are quite expensive at $30. Alternatively, I have these 2 browns that I got earlier. At any point in the game, I can use 2 similar cubes to get one of my choice. So in this case, I'll pay the 2 brown to take the 1 black I need for my company. So I have everything I need here. So I give these goods back into Haymarket, and I'm going to produce 2 plus 1 good because of the bonus of the automation. So 1, 2, 3 goods. I produce livestock as indicated here. So I'm going to sell my 3 goods onto the market here. So I'll place 1 here, 2, 3. So if you remember, my price of goods as shown on my company board is $30. So those 3 goods will get me $30, $60, $90. However, I've completed this first order, which will give me an additional $50. So my company's run for a total of $140. I own 30% of that company. Each share will get me 140 divided by 10, so $14. So my director's share at 30% will get me $14, $28, $42. So I'll take $42 from the bank, and that goes into my personal treasury. Now, anyone else that has shares will get $14 a share. In this case, no one has, so the rest of the money will go to the bank. So that will be $98 that goes to the company. 98. That goes into my company. Now, this is where the stock prices can change. My company share price is currently at $40. Now, because I earn more than double this value, my share price is going to go up by 2, meaning each share at the end of the game will have a value of $60. The last phase of the game is the clean-up phase. This is recognisable by this little dustpan and brush symbol. So you can see here on the capital assets, if this hadn't been bought, this would be discarded. But in the meantime, the rest all move up 1 and a new tile is placed. The market is also cleaned up. Any cubes left here are discarded and the rest are moved up. Any empty spaces are refilled from the bag. The number to refill them by is shown here on the turn track. So, at the moment on turn 1, 3 cubes. So we place 3 cubes at random from the bag here. The other thing that will need cleaning up will be the market. Any full tiles are removed and the rest are slid up. This little X tile's a bit of a tricky one. It only comes up once, but at the end of any round in which it's on the board, it's removed and the tiles are moved up. Then the rest of the board is refilled from the pile. Any incomplete orders are kept on the board. Players then take any workers off the board, ready for the next turn. And play begins again. Play continues in exactly the same way over 5 rounds. Over the course of the game, players will buy and sell stock in various companies. So by the end of the game, you can end up with quite a diverse portfolio. Remember, at the end of the game, you're going to sell these for the amount of money they're worth to generate your final score for the game. So, if this represented my portfolio at the end of the game, I'd cash it in to receive the money. CM Henderson & Co. is only worth $35 and I only own 10%, so that would only get me $35. Remember to put it in the right pile. Crackerjack Company. Obviously, because it's a red company, I bought the preferred stock. Crackerjack is actually worth $50, so my 20% share I would sell for $100. My Anglo-American worth $60, 30% share, that would get me $180. And then finally I will sell my Swift & Company for a lowly $40. So then I'd need to add up the money in my personal treasury, remembering that money in your company is worth nothing to you, to get my final score. In this case it would be $417. I hope that gives you a basic idea of how the game works and whether or not it's the sort of game you'd enjoy playing. Parallel games will be at BGG Con this weekend coming, and in 2 weeks after that at PAX Unplugged. I'll be demoing for them at PAX Unplugged, so come and say hello if you're there. Hopefully see you at one of those shows. Bye for now.